just pausing a little bit because takes a couple seconds to click in before you can even hear me. So, all right. So hopefully I waited long enough. Um, so Raul, Catch Wrestling Alliance, we're here to help you wrestle better so that together we keep real wrestling alive. And so I thought it'd be interesting, not interesting, I just think it's kind of important to analyze what's going on in the world of no-gi jiu-jitsu, especially for people who do catch wrestling, because as they're saying that like it's no-gi is becoming more and more like catch wrestling. It's good to like pay attention to these trends and stuff. And then we kind of talk about them, kind of analyze it, see what's different. And so I put together like a more deep dive analysis in a easy to listen format, since this is mostly like a like a podcast. So it's going to be easy to listen to, especially if you're not watching the video. So totally fine. If you're not watching the video, there's nothing to watch regarding like we're not going to show clips of the matches and stuff. So it should be easy to follow along. But before then, let's just go ahead and list some announcements. So right now, if you ever want to train with us, you're in Los Angeles or the Los Angeles area, we're at Fight Science MMA every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Also, our UCLA classes are going to be starting again, but not for a few weeks. UCLA is on a shorter quarter system, so they start closer to October. So we're still going to be off for like another month at UCLA at the university. So if you ever want to train with us and you're far away and if you want to train with us online, go ahead and go to our website, catchwrestlingalliance.com. We got one-off courses there. We have a membership there. So all different ways to train and learn about catch wrestling. So all right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the main point today. So I put together a deep dive for you. So it's going to be our buddies. Our buddy, we should give him a name, Frank, and we got to think of a nice woman's name. But they're going to be talking about a lot of, basically I programmed the information so that they can talk about like specific things in a like orderly way that's really easy to understand. So I think it'll be a little bit better than me doing it. So with that being said, oh darn, actually, I think I gotta make sure I gotta upload it first. So we'll let that upload. But in the meantime, if anyone has any questions, it's uploading right now. All right, it's ready. So I guess too late. Yeah, save your questions for later, because basically we're gonna go through this. It'll be over 10 minutes long. Should be interesting. It was interesting to me to watch this past event because I've trained with some of these people. So yeah. So without further ado, here's the analysis.
Okay, let's unpack this, because modern grappling has, well, it's completely broken the rules of gravity at this point.
It really has, yeah.
I mean, it used to be that falling down was like the worst thing that could happen to you in a fight, right?
Oh, absolutely. That was the golden rule. Stay on your feet.
Stay on your feet. But now falling down is a weapon. It's an ambush.
Yeah.
And today we are tearing into the transcript and the tape from UFC BJJ 10. And our mission for this deep dive is really to extract the technical trends, the tactical shifts, and those really common devastating submissions that are just dictating the sport right now.
Yeah, there's so much to pull from this one.
Right, and we're looking at 8 high-level matches. This includes 3 title fights and the debut of the Women's Flyweight Grand Prix. But the thing that makes this specific event so fascinating is the arena.
Oh, the bowl.
The bowl, exactly. They aren't on a flat mat. They are competing in this arena where the padded edges slope aggressively upward at like a 30-degree angle.
Right. And that 30-degree angle, it completely changes the spatial reality of the matches.
Yeah.
I mean, when you analyze the data from this card, you see this intense evolutionary arms race happening just right in real time.
It's crazy to watch.
It is, because the meta has basically fractured into 2 extreme opposing ideologies.
Right.
On one end of the spectrum, you have these athletes who are entirely focused on immediate, catastrophic, lower body entanglements.
Right. the leg lockers.
Exactly. And then on the other end, we have tacticians who are relying on just suffocating heavy top pressure to shut that exact game down. So it's this violent clash of physics.
Well, let's start with that lower body obsession then, because the leg lock meta was honestly the most dominant offensive trend we saw across the entire card.
Oh, by far.
I mean, Adele Fonorino, she really set the tone immediately against Carol Brunasio.
Oh, that match was incredible.
First round finish. And she did it by just bypassing the traditional hierarchy of grappling positions entirely.
Yeah, she didn't even try to play the normal game.
No, she didn't engage the hands. She didn't try to pass a side control. She just threw a massive Imanari roll directly into the legs and locked up this brutal belly down straight ankle lock.
What's fascinating here is mechanically what Fornerino did is brilliant.
Yeah.
Because it forces a complete systemic failure of the opponent's posture.
How? So, like, what's failing exactly?
Well, in traditional jiu-jitsu, you build frames right,
Right.
with your arms and your shins to protect your torso.
Right. Keep them away from you.
Exactly. But the modern leg locker targets the foundational pillars of the opponent's stance before those frames can even be established.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So when you hit an Imanari roll like that, you are literally dropping your center of gravity below their defensive sight line.
Wow, below the sight line.
Yeah. So by the time Bernasio even registered the angle change, her primary leg was already isolated, and Fornerino's hips were they were glued to the knee line.
Yeah.
And then from there, the belly down finish uses the entire posterior chain to bridge into the ankle joint. It's incredibly powerful.
And it completely rewires the defensive brain, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if someone dives on your ankle like that, you can't think about, traditional sweeps or chokes.
You don't have time.
Right. You are forced to look down and deal with the fact that your ligaments are about to just snap in half.
Yeah, it's the ultimate offensive disruption.
But what blew my mind, as I was watching the tape, was seeing that exact same lower body disruption used defensively.
Oh, you're talking about William Tockett against Fedor Nikolov.
Yes, William Tockett. I mean, Nikolov is a 10th planet black belt. He's known for this brutal rubber guard game.
Which is terrifying to be caught in.
Right.
Because that rubber guard relies heavily on breaking the opponent's posture down.
Yeah, they pull your head down, right.
Exactly. They pull you down, they trap you with high leg pummeling, and force you to carry their weight.
Oh, man.
Until you eventually just make a mistake with your neck or your arms.
Right. So sitting in that closed guard is basically a death sentence.
Yes.
But Tockett just refused to play into that structure.
Yeah, he wasn't having it.
Instead of engaging the guard, he used a wrestling sequence. He did this massive super duck right into a knee pick.
Such a beautiful move.
He completely changed his elevation, popped out of that high guard structure, and just bypassed the upper body entirely to secure a heel hook finish.
Yeah.
But hitting a super duck to counter a rubber guard player, that feels insanely risky to me. Why did that actually work mechanically?
Well, it's because of where the structural load is distributed in a high guard.
Okay.
So Nikolov's rubber guard, it requires a very specific angle of tension against Tockett's neck and shoulders to actually maintain control.
Oh, so he needs Tockett to push back a little bit.
Exactly. So when Tockett hits that super duck, he isn't just dropping his elevation, he is exploding laterally.
Right, he goes sideways.
Yeah, he changes the angle of engagement so suddenly that Nikolov's leg structure just has no load-bearing capacity in that new direction.
Oh, wow.
The high guard essentially collapses under its own lack of tension.
That is wild.
And by transitioning immediately to the knee pick, Tockett forces Nikolov's hips to the mat, and suddenly Tockett is the one dictating the entanglement.
He weaponized the takedown to expose the leg.
Exactly.
And we saw another variation of this kind of chaos from Anna Lima in her match against Danielle Kelly.
Oh, yeah. Lima was relentless in that match.
She really was. She kept jumping, like literally leaping to wrap the waist, but she wasn't looking to play a static bottom game.
No, not at all.
She was using it to instantly attack footlocks on the way down and mixing in these brutal razor locks during the transitions.
The razor lock is a perfect example of these modern transitional submissions we're seeing.
Okay, walk me through that because it happens so fast.
Yeah, so you're locking the blade of your forearm just above the opponent's elbow, right?
Okay.
And then you're using your head and your torso to create a fulcrum to bend the joint backward.
Oh, jeez.
Eek is incredibly difficult to finish against a sweaty elite opponent, honestly.
Because they just slip out.
Right. Yeah, but Lima was using it strategically. She used it to force Kelly into these frantic defensive rolls,
Ooh.
which in turn opened up the legs.
Ah, so it was bait.
Exactly.
I look at this whole leg lock meta, this constant threat from a distance, and it feels exactly like what happened to basketball when they introduced the three-point line.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Right, because before the three-point shot, the game was heavily focused on grinding in the paint, right?
Yeah, fighting under the basket.
Fighting for position. And in grappling, that's traditional guard passing and fighting for the mount.
Right.
But the three-point line completely changed the spacing. You suddenly had to defend the perimeter the moment the ball crossed half court.
Yeah.
And leg locks do the exact same thing. You can't just casually engage an open guard anymore.
No, you really can't.
You have to defend your ankles and knees from the very first second the match starts, regardless of the distance.
I mean, that analogy tracks perfectly with the biomechanics we're seeing. Because if you're defending a perimeter shooter in basketball, your hips have to be higher. Your weight distribution has to be lighter on your feet so you can close distance laterally.
Right, you have to be ready to move.
Exactly. And in grappling, if you're terrified of a heel hook, you can't heavily commit your weight forward into a traditional guard pass.
Because your leg is out there.
Yes, because extending your lead leg makes it a massive target.
Oh, wow.
So you end up hovering, playing this tentative outside game, which is exactly what the lower body hunters want.
They want you hesitating.
Exactly.
But every offensive revolution eventually meets a defensive wall.
Right.
And at UFC BJJ 10, that counter meta was heavy, suffocating top pressure. We saw athletes essentially turning themselves into anvils to neutralize these leg attacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, look at Brianna St. Marie's title win over the featherweight champion Rebecca Lima.
That was a clinic.
It really was. Lima is notorious for creating scrambles and finding legs under pressure, but St. Marie gave her absolutely zero space to create that chaos.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, St. Marie's performance was a masterclass in kinetic chain disruption.
Okay, kinetic chain disruption. Break that down for me.
So she didn't just pass the guard right. She systematically disassembled Lima's ability to move.
Wow.
She established this brutal crossface, driving her shoulder deeply into Lima's jaw.
Oh, yeah, you could see it on the tape.
Yeah, and she pinned both of Lima's shoulders absolutely flat to the mat.
It looked less like a hold and more like a vacuum seal.
Yeah.
Like she was actively pulling all the oxygen out of the space between them.
That is the mechanical reality of a proper crossface.
Really?
Yeah, because when you force the opponent cervical spine out of alignment by driving their chin away from their center line,
Right.
their brain physically will not allow their hips to bridge effectively.
Wait, really? Your brain just shuts it down?
Yeah, it's a structural defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And if a guard player cannot bridge or move their hips, they cannot elevate you to entangle your legs.
Oh, man. So St. Marie basically just parked a truck on Lima's upper body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She let the isometric tension cook her opponent.
Yeah.
And once Lima was sufficiently exhausted, St. Marie just isolated the arm, walked her fingers out to eliminate any slack, and locked in a textbook katamegatame right from the mount.
The head and arm choke.
Yep.
Beautiful. And, you know, we saw Danielle Kelly use a really similar exhaustion strategy to survive Anna Limer's onslaught.
Oh, yeah, that match was intense.
Because Lima was throwing those razor locks, she was diving for foot locks, and at one point she actually caught Kelly in a deeply compromised late-stage heel hook.
That was a scary moment.
Yeah, it looked like it was over. But Kelly didn't try to frantically spin out. She relied on heavy stack passes.
Right.
She continuously drove her weight forward and essentially folded Lima in half onto her own neck.
The stack pass is the ultimate punisher for a hyperactive guard player.
Why is it so punishing?
Well, when Kelly stacks Lima, she's driving Lima's knees into her own face, right?
Right.
So she is severely compressing Lima's diaphragm. Every single breath becomes a massive struggle.
Oh, man, I can't even imagine.
Furthermore, the lactic acid dump in the guard player's legs is just immense when they are forced to carry another human being's weight while folded like that in cervical flexion.
So Kelly won that decision because she just bullied the submission hunter into complete cardiovascular exhaustion.
Exactly. She just wore her down.
Okay, I want to pivot to the arena itself because this is where the transcript gets genuinely wild.
Oh, yeah, the bowl.
The Jalen Fonair versus Maurice Ramirez match.
Yeah.
Fonair is a submission machine, super aggressive, and he manages to catch Ramirez in a very deep leg entanglement.
Or really deep.
It looks like the tap is inevitable, but Ramirez does something bizarre. He rolls his body up the physical 30-degree slope of the bowl,
Yeah, he used the wall.
and as they slide back down, the grip breaks. Fonair loses the submission, and Ramirez survives.
It was crazy to watch.
But okay, I have to challenge the legitimacy of this.
Okay.
Doesn't Ramirez getting saved by the sloped wall feel like a massive cop-out? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're caught in a deep heel hook, you screwed up tactically. Relying on the architecture to break the grip, it feels like a gimmick to me. Not high-level jiu-jitsu.
I mean, I understand the purist perspective on that, but you're looking at this strictly through the lens of a flat mat.
Fair enough.
In this specific environment, the architecture is a technique.
Okay, convince me.
Let's break down the physics of what actually happened on that slope. So to finish a heel hook, the attacker, Fonair, has to isolate the knee joint.
Right.
And he has to bridge his hips aggressively into the side of the opponent's knee to create that breaking torque.
Yeah, he needs leverage.
Exactly. And to bridge your hips, you need a solid floor to drive your foot into. It requires static friction.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. So when they are on the slope.
Exactly. When Ramirez rolls them up, the slope gravity takes over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they transition from static friction to kinetic friction as they begin sliding back down that padded wall.
Because they're moving.
Right. The floor is literally moving out from under Fonair's driving foot.
That is insane.
Because he is sliding, he has no backstop to push against. He cannot extend his hips, and therefore the braking torque just drops to zero.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Ramirez used gravity and geometry to physically dismantle the submission's braking mechanics.
Wow. Okay, that completely changes how I view the sequence. It's not a gimmick at all. It is environmental awareness at the absolute highest level.
Yep.
You essentially have to train for wall walking and slope sliding if you are going to compete in this promotion.
Oh, without a doubt. If the environment can physically alter leverage like that, it is no longer just a boundary. It is a tactical variable that these athletes are actively weaponizing.
That is just brilliant.
It really is.
But here's where it gets really interesting to me. Even with these crazy environmental variables and the leg locks, the transcript shows a very strong through line. The classic submissions are still the most common match enders.
Oh, absolutely.
Provided they are applied with either overwhelming speed or just crushing isometric control.
Yeah, because fundamentals remain fundamental for a reason.
Hmm.
They represent the most efficient use of human biomechanics.
Right.
You don't need a convoluted setup if your kinetic linking is just perfect.
Case in point, Kazuya Mora against Bree Stick.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Stick is a high-level wrestler, incredibly hard to take down.
Very tough.
But Mora didn't shoot for the legs. She used a standing arm drag, which is like as old school as it gets.
Classic.
She pulled the arm to expose the back and secured a gift wrap grip where she's pinning Stick's own arm tightly across her face.
Yeah.
And then she seamlessly dropped back into a classic armbar finish. There was no wasted movement. It was just a perfectly linked kinetic chain.
Mora's finish was just technical perfection. But this raises an important question. You know, the beauty of the classics is that they scale with aggression just as well as they scale with technique.
Right.
And we saw this in the main event.
Andrew Tockett versus Jonatas Gracie for the welterweight title. Gracie tried to engage the legs early, looking for that lower body meta we talked about, but Tockett responded with absolute controlled chaos.
It was a blur.
He scrambled out of the leg entanglement with so much velocity that he bypassed the guard entirely and ended up directly on Gracie's back.
Yeah, his speed was unbelievable.
He threw his arms around Gracie's neck, but he didn't even secure a clean rear naked choke. The forearm wasn't under the chin at all. He just locked it directly over Gracie's face.
And this is where biomechanics meets sheer violence, honestly.
Yeah.
Because the traditional rear naked choke is a blood choke, right?
Right.
It compresses the carotid arteries to stop blood flow to the brain.
Right. You go to sleep.
Exactly. But Tockett didn't need the carotid. He locked his forearm over the mandible and just applied maximum rotational force.
Just a jaw crush.
A mandible crush. When you apply that much pressure to the jawline, it forces the cervical spine into a severe lateral crunch.
Oh, man.
While simultaneously threatening to dislocate the jaw.
So it's just pure pain.
It is pure pain compliance. Tockett used speed to secure the position and sheer torque to force the tap. He completely ignored the need for a clean technical angle.
And if you put Tockett's high-speed, chaotic style on one end of the spectrum, 44-year-old Wagner Rocha sits on the exact opposite end.
Oh yeah, Wagner's a totally different animal.
Watching Rocha fight Andy Varela was incredible. Rocha didn't use speed. His pressure was like a ratchet strap.
Yes.
Every time Varela exhaled, Rocha took that millimeter of space, tightened his position and locked it down.
Just grinding him out.
He brought a very gritty MMA-style physicality to this grappling match. Heavy palm strikes to the face, snapping the head down, just wearing Varela into the mat.
Because Rocha understands that isometric control is just as exhausting as cardiovascular output.
Right.
When someone is constantly breaking your posture and bearing down on your frames, your muscles eventually just fail.
And he finished it from the mount with his signature crescent choke.
Brutal.
He just drove his hand directly into Varela's throat and dropped his chest weight onto the back of his own hand.
Yeah.
It's essentially a trachea crush. No complex angles, no trickery, just a hydraulic press applied directly to a windpipe.
Which perfectly illustrates the spectrum of modern grappling we are seeing at this event.
Yeah.
On one side, you have the Mora armbar, which is just pure fluid technique.
Beautiful to watch.
Right. And on another, you have the Taket mandible crush, where the technique is fueled by blinding speed and scramble velocity.
Yeah.
And then you have Rocha's crescent choke, where the technique is fueled by pure isometric domination.
Amazing.
If you can force your opponent into a physical deficit, whether that's through exhaustion, speed, or pressure, the fundamental mechanics of a submission will always work.
So what does this all mean? If we pull back and look at the entirety of UFC BJJ 10, the sport right now is a massive pendulum.
Yeah, I agree.
It's swinging wildly between the constant catastrophic threat of leg entanglements, where a millimeter of exposed heel ends the match, and the punishing reality of heavy top pressure and classic chokes. You survive the razor locks and Imanari rolls by basically turning yourself into a boulder, pinning the shoulders, and slowly suffocating the bottom player.
It is a constant cycle of adaptation.
Right.
The bottom players develop a new angle to isolate the knee, so the top players develop a heavier crossface to paralyze the hips.
Yeah.
And the environment, like the slope of the bowl, adds an entirely new physics engine to that cycle,
It really does.
allowing athletes to use gravity to break grips that would just be unescapable on a flat mat.
Which brings me to a final thought for us to chew on here.
Okay.
We've seen how the sloped walls of the bowl make it incredibly difficult to play a static, flat-on-your-back game.
Yeah.
We've seen how heavy wrestling pressure and stack passes are physically dismantling high guard players and leg lockers.
Right.
So as rule sets continue to evolve to favor nonstop action, and as these physical arenas actively punish you for laying flat on the mat, are we witnessing the slow extinction of the traditional closed guard? I mean, think about it. If you are a future grappler, knowing that gravity and judging criteria are stacked against the bottom player, why would you ever willingly play off your back?
That's a really good point.
It makes you wonder if the next generation is going to abandon the ground entirely in favor of constant standing scrambles, wall walking, and top game wrestling. We might be watching the very definition of grappling evolve into something entirely unrecognizable.
When falling down becomes a liability again, the entire meta just resets itself.
Exactly. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the tape. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. So if you have any questions or comments, let me know what you think. Ultimately, I mean, there's some things that are just part of catch wrestling that are being proven to be effective. So main thing is in the deep dive, they talked about like the heavy top pressure. Ultimately, that's like pinning pressure or pinning mechanics, right? Trying to keep someone flat on their shoulders, unable to get up, unable to roll into turtle and all that. So that's ultimately what they're talking about. And they're showing that this whole idea of pins will negate a lot of the person who's on their back, their ability to do a counter submission, or basically to submit you from their back, right? And the unfortunate thing was, I think one of the best examples, I guess, was the Tackett versus Fedor. Fedor is more of a guard player. He's submitted a lot of people using rubber guard in the past, and kind of basically with Tackett's pressure, Fedor was only really putting up frames. So he was really trying to just keep Tackett from progressing forward over him, and ultimately it didn't result in a win. It didn't result in Fedor being very aggressive virtually at all. And so I think that was one of the prime examples of how that pressure can just negate someone's bottom game completely. So if you want to go check that out. I really like talking about these ones because they're also free for anyone to watch, like on YouTube. So you can just look it up, UFC BJJ, right, on YouTube. I think really all organizations should just stream their stuff for free on YouTube because I think that really helps people, like helps build the fan base and all that, and helps people discover athletes. And um, yeah, so that's kind of the one thing. Um, and the other thing, one of my favorite matches though too was the other Tackett versus Gracie, because I think a lot of people are really going for these ankle locks, which I think is really interesting because they're considered like a white belt move, but now they used to be considered a white belt move, but then over time now it's like the leg lock, right? Besides heel hooks, now it's almost like the Achilles has really overtaken the the heel hook and stuff. So what was really cool is that Gracie tried to like hang on, get that same kind of grip on Tackett, but Tackett, because you can bend your legs and all that, so he just ended up wrapping himself around back and getting that kind of like neck crank or jaw crush submission, which was one of my favorite matches. I really liked that. You basically, it's like you don't have to stay in the whole leg entanglement either, right? So I think the idea of creativity and like kind of going from position to position and not just staying stuck in a leg battle, or not just getting stuck with like a top and bottom kind of thing where it's like someone's putting pressure, and like you just kind of accept these positions. You don't have to. You can be cycling back and forth. So I think the Tackett versus Gracie one showed that whole idea of versatility in your position. So um, I think those are some of the main things that I'd like to bring out. And they also mentioned the whole situational awareness thing. That's something they always talk about in like self-defense, and but even it's great in matches and stuff where it's like you do tournaments and maybe it's in a cage, maybe it's in a boxing ring, maybe it's like maybe it's just on a wide open mat. So you've got to be aware of the scenario and you can use it to your advantage. And there's really nothing that's cheating when you use like the ring or use the bowl or whatever. So ultimately, thought that it's good to pay attention to some of these things because then you get to see what people are doing, how they're approaching modern grappling, and see how you can apply your catch wrestling to those scenarios. Because ultimately, it's nogi is still not like a catch wrestling match, but a lot of these catch wrestling principles are proving themselves to be valuable. So think about it. If you want to train with us, again, we're in Los Angeles, Fight Science MMA. If you have access to the gym at the university called UCLA, we'll be back in October or end of September when school starts again. We're also online, catchwrestlingalliance.com. And if we also got our buddy on the East Coast, John Strickland, American Hook Wrestling. Check him out as well. All right. So ultimately, we're here to help you to wrestle better so that together we keep real wrestling alive. See you next time.